For a couple of weeks at the end of April and the beginning of May, my conservative colleague, Senator Dixon, and I had the great privilege of accompanying a number of Canadian veterans to Holland to help them commemorate the 65th anniversary of the liberation of that country, essentially by the Canadian Army. We don't get top billing in very many places in the world, but to give you an idea of how we're regarded there, the Dutch committee that organizes most of these events is called the Thank You Canada and Other Allied Nations Committee. So we are in the front row in that country. And the Dutch people learn at their mother's knee and in school that their freedom, which is so valuable to them, more valuable to them perhaps than to us because they've actually had the experience of losing it, that their freedom has been gained at the expense of and by virtue of the intervention of the Canadian Armed Forces, and the gratitude that they express to us in that respect. We're familiar with it here in Ottawa because of the Tulip Festival and the fact that Princess Marguerite was born in Ottawa. But the gratitude of the entire nation, kids on the street, businessmen, anybody that you run into there towards Canada for having brought them the freedom that they now enjoy is intense. We were standing in a parade in Appledore. We went to many different parades and to several different Canadian war cemeteries. The parade stopped for a moment, as parades sometimes do, and there's a truck in front of us, an old World War II truck with 5 or 6 Dutch girls in the back. They were 13 or 14 years old, waving Canadian flags, and they began to sing "O Canada." And all the Dutch people around us stood up and began to sing "O Canada." The deputy minister, who was standing next to me, asked the Dutch lady beside her how that is possible. And the Dutch lady said, "Well, we learned that in school." And the gratitude, which is genuinely eternal. I now have, and my colleagues and I who are there, all have a different appreciation of the word gratitude in the sense that it is meant by the Dutch people when it comes to Canada. It's interesting that the Dutch have 2 national holidays in this respect. May the 4th, which is called Remembrance Day. It's the day on which they remember all of the horrible things that happened to them during World War II. And the next day, May 5th, is called Liberation Day. That's the day that the Canadian General Guy Fawkes accepted the surrender of German forces in a town called Wageningen, in a room which we were able to see, and it followed by a parade in acknowledgement of the Canadians that they regard as heroes. And there were hundreds of Canadian veterans there, including many who, even though they're getting on in years now, had actually been working in Holland with the Canadian forces in 1944 and 1945. It was an experience that I wish every Canadian could have, and for which I will be eternally grateful.